I am a native of Las Vegas. I love my city, and I am sick and tired of these senseless deaths.
Putting your life at risk is one thing, but any driver with a DUI charge is not only putting themselves at risk, but also the innocent people around them, and such a crime is surely unforgivable. Number 5. Grace Coleman. A judge sentenced Grace Elizabeth Coleman, 23, to 21 years to life in prison for taking the lives of a Santa Ana couple after a drunk driving collision in Newport Beach. Ms. Coleman openly accepted responsibility to the judge for this complete tragedy, said her other defense attorney, Paul Meyer. Coleman pleaded guilty to second degree for slaying Henry Eduardo Saldana Meja, 27, and his wife Gabriela Andrade, 28, on December 8, 2020. The couple's daughters were also hospitalized after the crash. Their 3 daughters were between the ages of 1 to 5 years old. The crash broke all of their legs, and the 5-year-old suffered 2 broken arms. According to prosecutors, at the time of the crash, Coleman's blood alcohol level of 0.22% was nearly 3 times the legal limit when she hit the family's Nissan Versa at the intersection of Newport Coast Drive and Pelican Hills Road South. Newport police said Coleman possibly ran a red light as the family turned onto Pelican Hills. Senior Deputy District Attorney Jennifer Walker also claimed that she started driving her car after she was given a ride home. In addition to the slaying charge, Coleman pleaded guilty to driving under the influence of alcohol causing injury, driving while her BAC was at or over the legal limit of 0.08%, and failure to stop at hit and run with injury and slaying. She also pleaded guilty to misdemeanor counts of DUI and driving with a BAC in excess of the legal limit stemming from an August 16, 2020 arrest. If the case went to trial, Coleman could have been convicted to at least 42 years and 8 months.
December 9th, 2020, I received a phone call to give me the saddest news. It was the worst thing that I could have heard, a pain that I will never be able to overcome.
It's very heartbreaking, and I just want to give a message to people: be responsible, don't drink and drive. It's very painful because they're not here to be with us to celebrate those milestones.
Because Judge Prickett gave a lid of 21 to life. So as a representative for the people, I did not want her to receive any less than that.
Number 4. Banny Duarte. A woman was sentenced to 51 years to life in state prison for a DUI crash that took the lives of 3 Las Vegas teenagers in Huntington Beach in 2018 and seriously injured a 4th. Banny Duarte, 29, of San Clemente, was found guilty October 1 of 3 counts of second degree and 1 count of driving under the influence causing great bodily injury. The jury also found a sentencing enhancement allegation of inflicting great bodily injury to be true. The teens were in Huntington Beach for spring break when, in the early hours of March 29, 2018, Duarte's Hyundai Sonata struck a Toyota Corolla, carrying them as it was stopped at a red light at Pacific Coast Highway and Magnolia Street. The Toyota was pushed into a pole and caught fire. Dylan Mack, 18, Brooke Hawley, 17, and AJ Rossi, also 17, lost their lives. A 4th occupant, Alexis Vargas, was severely injured. In court, Payer heard nearly 4 hours of victim impact statements from the teens' friends and family, and statements from and on behalf of the defendant before handing down the maximum sentence. Duarte was sentenced to 45 years to life with the opportunity for parole for the 3 counts of slaying. She was also sentenced to 6 years for DUI causing injury against Vargas. The sentences will be served consecutively. During the trial, Deputy District Attorney Daniel Feldman argued that Duarte's previous DUI arrest, along with statements in a jail phone call and comments on the social media app Instagram, prove that Duarte was aware of the consequences of drunk driving and therefore acted with malice. At the time of the crash, Duarte had a blood alcohol level of 0.3%, more than 3 times the legal limit, police officials say. An onboard computer on Duarte's car showed that the vehicle was traveling 79 miles per hour when it hit the Corolla on a 45-mile-per-hour stretch of Pacific Coast Highway.
You handed me and my family a life sentence that day. The least you can do is sit in prison for the rest of your life. You stole everything from him, his life, his future, his past, and what was present. I resent you for that, and I always will.
No one is to blame but me. I take responsibility. At this point, I don't even know who's going to raise my children, or if I'm ever going to be able to ever hug them again or comfort them.
It doesn't matter. My daughter can't do anything. My daughter died horrifically.
Number 3. Aylin Alderette. 8-year-old Levi Ekanik may have lost his life to save the lives of other children headed to school in late August, his mother said. as the intoxicated driver who slayed the boy and injured his parents was sent to prison for up to 65 years.
Fortunately, it was my vehicle that she stole my baby boy. I can never see again.
I think we had helped save other kids that day. And I know Levi, just in his nature and everything, he would gladly give up his life to save 6 other kids.
An audible gasp echoed in the Las Vegas courtroom as Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal played video surveillance of a red Camaro speeding past buses, cars, and trucks before T-boning the family's black Dodge Avenger at 8:30 a.m. on August 31. The prosecutors asked for a sentence that would result in retribution and public deterrence.
Oh my God. You're going to see the defendant go around this traffic, take the left-hand turn lane in order to run this red light.
Prosecutors said Aylin Alderette, 25, had marijuana in her system when she drove more than 100 miles per hour and slammed her car into the Ekanek family's vehicle near Harmon and Eastern Avenues. During an hour-long sentencing hearing, Levi's family wept and held each other, wearing T-shirts that read, "For the love of Levi." The boy often wanted to help others and ensure their happiness, they said. Toxicology results showed that Alderette was under the influence of marijuana. An arrest report stated that Alderette demonstrated slow reflexes by only slowing down to 81 miles per hour for a red light that had been red for approximately 3 seconds. Alderette sobbed loudly throughout the proceeding, at times speaking over the boy's family to say, "I am so sorry." Defense attorney Warren Geller said Alderette's actions were those of someone suffering from mental illness, pointing to scars on her arms as self-hurt attempts. A Cuban immigrant, Alderette had been mentally and physically misconducted throughout her life, her lawyer said.
She was late for work. She couldn't miss working.
The fact that she's got an 8th grade education, cutting her own arm, it suggests that we're dealing with a sick kid, not a murderous sociopath.
And she obviously feels awful. She's been suicidal since she's been in custody. She had a panic attack. She was late for work on the day when this happened, and she made a foolish decision to drive way too fast.
Levitt ordered Alderette to serve at least 26 years in prison before she is eligible for parole, the maximum possible sentence for second-degree and 2 counts of DUI resulting in substantial bodily harm. After the hearing, Levi's mother, Brigitte, said she was relieved that the legal process had come to an end. "We can put this part of it behind us and focus on working on healing emotionally as a family, knowing that we got justice for Levi," she said. "We got it."
He was amazing. He was amazing. Smart, intelligent, helpful.
Number 2, Daniel Becker. A judge gave a harsher sentence than may have been expected to a man who took the lives of 3 pedestrians. Daniel Becker admits to smoking marijuana earlier that day and also blames the accident on a seizure. But that explanation wasn't enough for the judge. Parole and probation recommended a sentence of 7 years. Instead, the judge sentenced Becker to 21 to 60 years in prison, pointing out Becker shouldn't have been driving in the first place. The crash happened at Flamingo Road and Eastern Avenue on December 13, 2017. Carrie Smith, 49, and her daughter Jazzy Smith, 19, were slayed, along with another pedestrian, Charlene Emerson, 69, as they used the crosswalk. Driver Daniel Becker lost control, hitting the woman. 6 other people were hurt, including a woman who suffered serious head injuries. Becker's attorney says the 32-year-old has 3 young children. The last thing that went through his mind before he woke up in the hospital is the excitement of getting home because he had some money to pay for the presents for his kids, said Becker's attorney Brett Whipple.
The last thing that went through his mind before he woke up in the hospital is the excitement of getting home because he had some money to pay for the presents for his kids.
Becker received a 21-year prison sentence after an emotional statement from the Smiths' loved ones. Beckers admits to smoking marijuana the morning of the crash, and later when heading home from work, he claims he had an epileptic seizure. Turns out he had 9 times the legal limit of THC in his blood, and he had surrendered his driver's license after he lost control of the wheel 3 months prior. In this case, Becker pleaded guilty to DUI, resulting in slaying and reckless driving. He did apologize in court. Yet still, the sister and aunt of the Smith victim said she does forgive but still wants Becker to get significant time in prison.
He knew he was prone to seizures, and once you're at that point, the law says you're on notice, and you're not to be on the road unless you get approved from the DMV, and he didn't.
My mother and sister's bodies look so unrecognizable, we had to cremate them. I'll never get to tell my mother I love her.
Number 1, Jordan Lloyd Fuss. A man who was intoxicated when he caused a 2014 crash that slayed a 6-year-old boy was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Jordan Fuss, 22, of Davie, was shaking uncontrollably as he entered the courtroom with his family. Prosecutors sought the maximum sentence of 15 years in prison for slaying Santiago Giraldo. Fuss's attorney argued for a reduced sentence, claiming that his client is so remorseful that he's contemplated self-hurt. The Giraldo family cried in court while the defense argued for a lighter sentence. Fuss apologized to the family during his testimony, and his attorney said that he knew that his client was going to prison, but he asked the judge to show mercy. However, prosecutors said that Fuss admitted to using alcohol and smoking marijuana since the crash. Fuss, who was 19 at the time of the crash, was traveling more than 90 miles per hour on Sterling Road when he crashed his 2004 Infiniti G35 into another vehicle at Davie Road just before midnight on October 3, 2014. Police said Fuss had a blood alcohol level of 0.21%. The state legal limit is 0.08%. Fuss said he was drinking Captain Morgan rum before the crash. It was his 21-year-old friend who was a passenger in his car who bought it for him. Santiago's father took the stand and looked directly at Fuss when he said that he will never forgive him. "You didn't just take my son's life," he said, "you took mine too." Fuss's mother, father, brother, and girlfriend, whom he met online after the crash, also testified during the hearing. Fuss had one last tearful message to loved ones while being fingerprinted. "I love you guys so much," he said.
May God forgive you, because I can't. So sorry. I wish it was me. He did not deserve it. I did. I love you guys so much. I love you.
That's all for this video, folks. We'll see you another time.